First of all, it is important for us to form a very general idea about Marxism and the ideas which are central to the paradigm of Marxism. It is at the very outset important to say that Marxism cannot be interpreted in one single way because there are many developments which take place within Marxism after the, the inauguration of Marxism in the ideas of Marx, Karl Marx, and Friedrich Engels to the times when Frankfurt School was established in Germany and major revisions took place within this paradigm uh, in the sense that the originary ideas of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels were subjected to very serious revisions by uh, thinkers, writers in the pre-Second World War and post-Second World War period. Now, we can begin introduce Marxism by saying a few very simple things about this uh, radical philosophy. These very simple things are related with the fact that Marxism uh, came into existence, it arose, its emergence has to be understood as a rejection of a large number of ideas related to related to human life, related to reality, related to the understanding of history, and related to the understanding of culture. Marx and Engels, in their very famous works, which came out in the middle of the 19th century, challenged some of the most widely accepted notions, some of the most widely accepted ideas uh, related to the four things I have just mentioned, related to the understanding of the meaning of life, related to the understanding of reality, related to the understanding of history, and lastly, related to the understanding of culture. It needs to be reiterated here once again that Marxism, in its original form, has been understood to be a revolutionary paradigm, a radical philosophy, an ideology which had its basis or which basically had an oppositional character to a number of belief systems in the world. Now, I will begin to explain Marxism in as simple words as I can after bringing this fact, bringing this fact before you that the middle of the 19th century, which is the period of, we can say, very advanced stage of humanism, was at the same time a period when some radical philosophical trajectories had begun to chart their course. One was Marxism, second was psychoanalysis, which is linked with the name of Freud. And uh, another trajectory which had begun to chart its course was the uh, the philosophy and ideas related to existentialism. So, it was not the challenge to humanism did not come from one direction, but it had begun. The seeds had been sown, and the challenge to humanism had begun to acquire very strong contours through the ideas of such philosophers, thinkers as Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, and we can also take the name of Friedrich Nietzsche. These three writers, uh, although differed from each other in major ways, but one thing was in common. One thing was common among all of them, which was that they began to question some of the most widely accepted belief systems. Uh, Now, what were these ideas and belief systems which, in relation to Marxism particularly, came under scrutiny, came under uh, a challenge? So we can say that first of all, the central idea of humanism that human consciousness, human reason, and human rationalism is a is a faculty which can empower human beings to conquer the material world. The faith in the supremacy of the human beings and their mental faculties. Related to this is the idea that human consciousness is untrammeled, is free and autonomous. Uh, we have a reflection of this in Platonic ideas uh, which attach a great importance to ideas per se, that human life can be uh, can evolve, human life progresses, which in one of my lectures described as a teleological view of life, that the progress of human civilization and human society is basically brought about through the efforts of man uh, in the exercise of human reason, human rationalism. Similarly, these very ancient ideas of Plato and similar thinkers uh, get reinforced later on in the European humanism, beginning with Descartes, and later on the emphasis, the valorization to the development of civilization for collective good, at that we have seen in Rousseau and other thinkers. Now, we thus this is we can say, roughly speaking, the central notions of humanism, humanist thought, which prevailed, which was, we can say, an omniscient kind of a system of belief which circulated, which infiltrated every aspect of human ideology and human thought before Marx, before Freud, before Nietzsche. And these three thinkers came and through a major paradigm shift, they effected, they, let me say it again, they effected a kind of a paradigm shift, and by doing that, they opened up new possibilities of thinking about the world. Now, the basic idea with which we can introduce Marxism is that in Marxism, the humanist notion of the autonomy of human consciousness is challenged. Marxism, in its most important assertions, uh, claims that the essential belief that human beings are free, human consciousness is untrammeled and free by untrammeled by the external world and free is challenged because uh, Marx seems to foreground history. He seems to foreground the conditions, the material conditions of the world when he says that human consciousness is not free, human consciousness is determined by the material conditions that exist at a given point of time. So, this is, we can say, the fundamental idea which Marx proposes through his path-breaking works, which became milestones in the field of polemics, in the field of ideas. Marx probably has one of the most important places in the history of human civilization, in the history of human life, after, we can say, Aristotle, after Socrates, after Plato. And it will be right to mention here that Marx is a self-confessed, he's a follower of Hegel, who is a very famous German thinker. Secondly, now one is that human consciousness is not free and human consciousness is constituted by the conditions of life. So this is a very revolutionary idea. When you say that the idea of freedom itself is questionable, that the conditions of life, which they exercise a very strong influence, and they have a they are not only a formative influence on human mind and human consciousness, but we can say that they shape human mind, human consciousness. This is the first thing. Secondly, the view of history taken by Marx is a, following Hegel, is a dialectical view of history and not, we can say, a teleological view of history, where we equate the evolution and progress of history with the evolution and progress of human beings as a race, as a whole. Marx, following Hegel, takes a dialectic view of history, by which we mean that according to him, history progresses through the opposing forces. So this is a, we can say, a new idea related to the oppositional basis in the progress of history. Rather than looking looking at history as a harmonious process, under which human beings work collectively for the improvement of their race. Marx looks at history as a process which progresses, as a process which is taken forward by opposing forces. This can be explained by saying that history is not something that is characterized by peace. history is something that is characterized by conflict. So we can take our discussion further by using the word conflictual, that he takes a conflictual view of history, by which, and if we try to explain this further, we can say that according to Marx, society is divided into those groups which are dominant, which control the resources, the material resources, which have a dominant place, and those groups which are dominated, powerful and powerless. And history is shaped by the conflict between these social groups and the resolution of this conflict. This is the progression of history as adumbrated by Karl Marx in his very revolutionary. Now, integral to this view is suspicion of such cultural phenomena as culture, as religion, and social belief systems. Because when you look at life in a state of, if we briefly perform a recapitulation of what we have said, if we take such a view of history where human consciousness is not free, where the idea of freedom is illusory, where you rethink the idea of human progress as a process of teleological evolution from less civilized, less refined social order to more refined social order, when you reject these ideas and begin to look at life as a state of affairs where the human subject, human mind is not free, is there, it is a state of not freedom but lack of freedom, where there are basic contradictions in the society because the society is divided into those groups that are dominant and the groups that are dominated. So when you take this kind of a view of life, you are bound to be suspicious of of the uh, of the social phenomena which are termed or which are given such labels as religion, culture, belief systems, and other such social institutions. So the suspicion is related to, once again, a very basic idea in Marxism, that the uh, culture that is practiced in a society or the cultural life of a people is a replication of the ideas of the dominant class. One, that the what we perceive as the cultural life of the people, all the practices and belief systems which define the cultural life of a people is, if we can use justifiably use the term illusory, is illusory. It can be equated with, I am using a very crude word, but it can be equated with lies, because the cultural belief systems, cultural phenomena, I will dwell on the term ideology in my next lecture, have an ideological function. What do we mean by the ideological function? That the cultural life of a people is actually the ideas of the ruling class, the dominant, and they have a function. The function is to hide, to conceal the contradictions of life, to conceal the bitter truth that the world is not equal, that it lacks freedom. These cultural ideas help in hiding. They have a function of hiding. Not only hiding, but justifying and legitimizing social relations, which are unequal. The culture performs this function of hiding some some aspects of the social world which may not be entirely fair, which may not be entirely just, which may not be entirely acceptable. So this is the second. So there is then similarly at the same level, in the same way, there is a suspicion of what we call a sense, logos, ideas, because everything has its relationship with the conditions of life. Nothing is true in itself. Nothing has meaning in itself. So there is a distrust of senses, of abstractions, of ideas, which was the case with the Platonic philosophy, where ideas were considered to be most uh, most pristinely pure. Ideas were by Plato gave gave utmost emphasis to ideas and to the uh, basic purity of ideas. All these things are
Excuse me, sir.
subjected to
Excuse me, sir.
distrust in Marxist philosophy. So
Excuse me, sir.
let me take the next point. Uh, Material conditions, historical conditions.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Good morning, sir.